Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie video, taken from the HFY subreddit. The story is called The Legend of Jim, written by Tmarkos. The link to the original will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. The bar was not amazing as bars went, but it was passable. Ticket sighed, his arms rattling together in a cascade of fatigue and a long-anticipated relaxation as he reclined back into the dingy, pitted plasterboard chair. Sometimes at the end of a run you got lucky and there was a fun spot where the owners actually cared about the atmosphere of the menu. And sometimes the station had a reeking cart where the janitor sold distillate that he had fermented in the waste compactor. This place was just average. It sold beverages, and it had seats. He cast the glittering eyes across the table towards his companion, who was prodding at flax caught in the foam atop his beverage, as with a suspicious look. A human named Andrew Lee. He was Ticket's sole crewmate on the long-haul freighter. Drew and Ticket had been crewing together for about 8 runs now, which was long enough for Ticket to know that Drew had already decided that he was going to drink it, but some theatrics were necessary to display the depths of his dissatisfaction with the current venue. Drew eventually settled back and took a long pull from his flagon, smacking his lips and wiping some foam from his bristly upper lip. Contemplation gave way to mild disgust, then resignation as he shrugged and drank again. Ticket chittered. "You know, I smell some methanol coming off of that," he said brightly. Drew coughed, shooting a dark look back across the table. "Leave me be, you stupid bug. 9 decicycles on the run and we've run out of booze and 1 decicycle in." "Because you drank it," interjected Ticket. "Meaning," Drew continued bullishly, "that I have been subsiding on reprocessed water for 8 decis, and I resent your attempts to diminish my enjoyment of this undoubtedly lethal swill." He batted lover's eyes at his mug, which hissed softly with the off-gas of a slow, foul trickle of, something. Ticket couldn't quite place it, and didn't particularly want to. "I'll leave you to it," he said magnanimously, with a roll of his major eyes. The gesture meant nothing to his species, but he had adopted a few of the more achievable items of the human body language for Drew's sake, as the human tended to find him somewhat inscrutable otherwise. Drew snorted into his mug, sending flecks of foam scudding over the table and onto the floor. "You're getting a lot better at that, you know. You should be careful you don't pick up too many bad habits. They won't let you back into the hive." Drew scratched his beard, pondering. Would they have an issue with you acting human around them? Ticket chittered. "Alien, maybe, but human is fine. Nobody would object to acting human." "Why?" said Drew, genuinely curious now. Ticket fixed him with a glance and then swiveled his eyes more to stare as he realized that Drew wasn't poking fun at him for once. "You don't know about Jim?" he said incredulously. Drew raised an eyebrow. "Dare say we invented Jim, unless there's a lot more hit-given names than you told me." Ticket bristled. "How do you not know this? It's literally the most well-known story amongst the hit." Drew patted his head and body thoroughly, and then turned his hands palm upward. "No shell, no feathers," he exclaimed in a mock surprise. Ticket shook his head. "I can't believe that you don't know about Jim," he muttered. "He was a human. How is this not taught in human schools?" "Jim who?" asked Drew. "I don't know very many famous Jims." Ticket let out another rattling sigh and drew himself up to the traditional storytelling posture. "Drink on your pipe, scum, and listen up. I'm going to tell you a story of Jim." Long ago, the hit were young in mind. They walked the water with joy. They walked the shore with joy. And then the sun shone down brightly over all. Wait, said Drew, holding up his hands. "What is this walking with joy business? Why are you talking like that?" "It's a traditional story," snapped Ticket, his scales flaring. "Shut up and drink and let me finish." He shot one more irritated glare at Drew, who was shaking in silent laughter while trying to wear his best wide-eyed rapt pupil expression, before recomposing himself and continuing. "Long ago, the hit were young in mind. They walked the water with joy. They walked the shore with joy. And the sun shone down brightly over all. For an age and an age we lived with joy. The water and the sun provided life. Our arms were full of food, and our shells were safe and dense. One day the sky gave us Jim. He fell from a pillar of fire. He came with a smoke and a thunder. To sun and shore and water, Jim was alone of his kind. He called, the sky were his broodmates, but none came to answer his call. In time he named the hit his brood, and we him. Sorry, Drew interjected, holding up his hands again. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I have some questions about the whole thing. Ticket sighed irritatedly, then nodded. How long ago was this? Drew asked. You're talking like he fell out of you all in the Stone Age. Prior, actually, said Ticket. We weren't really doing much with tools back then. The homeworld had everything we wanted in abundance. We were smart enough, just no pressure to improve. Despite that, it wasn't that long ago that this happened, just a bit over 3 kilocycles. Holy crap, explained Drew. And now you're a spacefarers? The hell happened to bring you all up to speed so fast? Ticket didn't answer, but instead fixed Drew with a patient glare until the slow realization crept over his face. Nodding, Drew motioned for Ticket to continue. Jim walked the water with the hit. Jim walked the shore with the hit. But Jim didn't feel joy, for Jim was old in mind. Jim brought tools and arts from the sky, and then he learned of the world. And as he learned of the hit, so we learned from him. First, he taught us words, which gave our minds a shape. Second, he taught us writing, which gave our minds a pattern. Last, he used the words and the letters to fill our minds with knowledge. And knowing this, our minds shouted and screamed and burned and grew old. We wailed and asked him why he had done this. Where there sun when water was before, there was now discord and strife, as we looked beyond what we had enjoyed. So, what? This Jin guy crashed to your world and turned your island paradise into civilization. Buddy, I'm not sure you should be thanking him. Drew shook his head. Most of the time we discourage random folks from seeking out uncontacted species, but that far back? Ticket nodded. Jim wasn't there by choice. He was one of the earlier cartographical vessels your people sent out, and his ship got knocked out from a flare from our sun. It was experiencing intense activity at the time. In fact, it's why he did what he did. He fixed Drew with an expectant look. Drew nodded and motioned for Ticket to continue. Jim was saddened to see our pain, but spoke to us and urged a calm. He told us that we must look beyond ourselves, for the sun will soon turn against the water. We listened, though our hearts were burdened, and Jim taught us how to shape the wood and the land, how to shape the metal of the earth, how to shape the flow of the air. Years passed, and we grew in number, but Jim was one, and he passed into death, leaving his knowledge and his power for us, standing alone against the sun. Jim left us the letters and the words, guidance for a path up from the water, guidance for a path over the land, guidance for a path towards the stars. When the sun lashed out in its rage, we were saddened for what was lost, but sorrow only plagues the living, and both life and memory are his gifts. Ticket folded his upper arms, signifying the end of the story. Our sun went over about half a kilocycle ago, and our original homeworld was destroyed. Because we had so long to prepare and so much of the technological head start, instead of an extinction event, we lost only about 5% of our population, and we were able to preserve much of the plant and animal life. Drew whistled softly. That's one hell of a thing, buddy. So they hit home fleet. Ticket nodded. Our entire civilization, until we settled into a more recent colonies. They sat in contemplation, Drew draining the last of his mug and looking at the foam slowly sliding down to collect in the bottom. Finally he grinned and slid his mug over to Ticket. So, in the spirit of thankfulness, he shook his head firmly. I don't owe you crap. Drew blinked. Excuse me, he managed, somewhat taken aback. Sorry, Ticket chittered. That's from Jim as well. He left us some instructions on what to do when we met humans eventually. Laughing, Drew got up to refill his drink. Sounds like he was a pretty smart guy after all. Ticket nodded and reclined further, the chair creaking worriedly at him. He was, at that. The final lessons of Jim. Number 1. Just call me Jim, dammit. I should have never mentioned my last name to you spiky bastards. Number 2, stop freaking kidding each other over food. Number 3, actually, just don't kid each other, it's not nice. Number 4, use the plans from the computer to keep working. Number 5, don't be a dick to the AI, it's trying to help you. Number 6, don't just work on the fun crap. All of the plans are there for a reason. Number 7, don't start worshipping me like some fricking savior. Number 8, don't stop worshipping the AI either. Number 9, when you meet other humans, remember that you don't owe them crap. Number 10, have fun out there and be good. And that, my friends, is the end of this Reddit Quickie. I hope that you enjoyed. If you'd like to support this channel, there are numerous ways to do so, listed in the description down below. The easiest and best way would be to share this video and my channel as much as possible. I'll see you all in the next video, and I hope that you have a good one until then. Cheers.